By the time Frodo leaves the Shire, Middle-earth is already dying. Not in flames, not in conquest, but in silence. The Great War was not fought at the Black Gate. It was fought thousands of years earlier, when the world itself was wounded, and everything that followed was only the echo. Middle-earth is not a world moving toward victory. It is a world recovering from a loss it never truly healed from. And to understand that, you have to stop reading Tolkien as heroic fantasy and start reading him as mythic aftermath. Arda was never meant to be broken. In the beginning, it was shaped by the music of the Ainur, a harmony intended to define reality itself. But Melkor did not merely oppose that music, he inserted himself into it. He wove discord directly into the structure of existence. That distinction matters. Morgoth was not just a tyrant raising armies, he was a force contaminating the metaphysical foundations of the world. When the Valar descended into Arda, they were not entering a neutral stage, they were stepping into a song already corrupted. This is why Morgoth's defeat is so often misunderstood. He lost wars, he lost fortresses, he lost servants, but he succeeded in something far more permanent. He dispersed his power into the matter of Arda itself. Every stone, every living thing, every act of decay carries a trace of him. Tolkien calls this Morgoth's ring, and it is the single most important concept for understanding why Middle-earth is a fallen world. Evil does not need to conquer again because it is already present as a condition of reality. This is where the First Age truly ends, not with Morgoth's capture, but with the realization that victory came too late and at too great a cost. The War of Wrath shattered Beleriand, drowned entire civilizations, erased histories, and permanently altered the shape of the world. This was not restoration, this was damage control. The Valar did not heal Arda, they amputated the most infected limb and hoped the rest would survive. And here lies their greatest failure, not moral failure, not cruelty, but strategic resignation. The Valar chose containment over cure. They withdrew from Middle-earth. They removed Aman from the circles of the world. They allowed men to inherit a land already poisoned because they believed further intervention would only worsen the harm. If you believe the Valar made the right choice here, pause the video and tell me why in the comments, because this decision is the fulcrum on which all later tragedy turns. From this moment onward, decline becomes inevitable. The Elves understand this before anyone else. They are often portrayed as immortal victors, but Tolkien's Elves are a people in slow retreat. Every great act diminishes them. Every victory costs something that cannot be recovered. Their bodies remain, but their spirits grow weary, increasingly detached from the world they were meant to love. Middle-earth becomes a place they no longer belong to, not because men replace them, but because the world itself is slipping away from the state in which elves were designed to exist. When they sail west, it is not a reward, it is surrender with dignity. This is why the Second and Third Ages feel smaller. The world is smaller, not geographically, but spiritually. The great powers are gone, the Valar are distant, the Elves are leaving, the dwarves retreat into stone, the Ents fade into memory. What remains is a world increasingly suited for men, not because men are stronger, but because men are temporary. They can endure loss without breaking, because loss is their natural state. This is also why Sauron's rise is not surprising. Sauron is not a new evil, he is a remainder. He is what happens when Morgoth's influence persists without Morgoth himself. Sauron does not need to dominate reality the way his master did. He only needs to exploit what is already broken. The rings of power are not weapons of conquest, they are tools of preservation twisted into control. They promise to stop decay, to freeze the world in a desired state, and that promise alone is enough to corrupt those who fear loss most. The elves fall into this trap because they understand what is slipping away. Their desire to preserve is understandable. It is also fatal. The One Ring does not create domination out of nothing. It amplifies a flaw already present in Arda, the impossibility of preserving beauty forever in a wounded world. This is why the War of the Ring matters, and why it does not change the ultimate trajectory. Destroying the ring does not heal Middle-earth. It removes a pressure point. It delays collapse. It gives the world one final age of relative peace before the long descent continues. Magic fades, not because it is defeated, but because it no longer belongs. The passing of the ring-bearers marks the end of an era where myth and history could coexist openly. After that, Middle-earth becomes our world, not improved, not enlightened, but diminished. This is the long defeat Tolkien speaks of, not a single failure, but a slow, inevitable erosion where goodness persists without expectation of triumph. Heroism in Middle-earth is not about winning forever. It is about choosing what is right even when permanence is impossible. Frodo does not save the world. He makes it possible for the world to continue a little longer, at immense personal cost. That is not a flaw in the story, it is its central truth. Middle-earth was already lost. The beauty of Tolkien's legendarium is that evil is not destroyed, but that meaning survives decay. The long defeat does not end with the fall of Barad-dûr, it only becomes quieter. After the War of the Ring, many readers assume Middle-earth is healed, that balance is restored, that the shadow is finally gone. But Tolkien never writes restoration, he writes transition. The Fourth Age is not a renewal of the old world, it is the acceptance of a diminished one. What truly ends with Sauron is not evil, but enchantment. The rings are gone, the three lose their power. The things that once resisted time are now subject to it fully. This is why the elves must leave. There is nothing left for them to anchor to in Middle-earth. Without the rings, their realms cannot remain unstained by decay, and without decay, elves have no true place in Arda Mard. Their departure is not caused by men rising, it is caused by the world finally becoming honest about what it is. The Valar's design for Arda is no longer reachable. Middle-earth settles into what Morgoth left behind, a place where beauty exists briefly, then fades. This is why Aragorn matters more than most kings in fantasy, not because he rules wisely, but because he understands limits. He does not attempt to restore Númenor. He does not seek immortality. He accepts the gift of men fully, including death. That acceptance is the single greatest rejection of Morgoth's legacy in the entire legendarium. Morgoth wanted permanence through domination. Ar-Pharazôn wanted eternity through force. Sauron wanted order without end. Aragorn chooses stewardship that ends. This is why men inherit the world, not because they are favored,
but because they are compatible with a world that cannot be fixed. The tragedy is that this inheritance is not glorious. The Fourth Age is quieter, less mythic, less alive. The Ents lose the Entwives forever. The dwarves' great works become tombs. The Rohirrim fade into legend. The Shire itself begins to change once its protectors are gone. Tolkien is not subtle about this. The world becomes more ordinary, and that ordinariness is the final consequence of Morgoth's corruption. Not endless darkness, but the slow draining of wonder. This is where many adaptations fail. They treat Middle-earth as a setting frozen at its peak. Tolkien treats it as a world passing through entropy. History in Middle-earth does not spiral upward.
It flows downward, thinning with each age. What makes this profound is that Tolkien does not see this as nihilism. He sees it as moral clarity. Goodness does not need victory to be meaningful. Sam returning to the Shire, planting a tree, raising a family, is not a lesser ending than a cosmic triumph. It is the correct one for a world that cannot be redeemed, only endured. This is why Tolkien's heroes suffer. They are not rewarded proportionally. Frodo cannot stay. He cannot be healed fully. The wound from Weathertop never truly leaves him, because Middle-earth itself never truly heals either. The ring is gone, but the damage remains. The cost was real. This is the price of resisting evil in a world already bent toward loss. If you think this makes Tolkien's world bleak, pause and consider this instead. The long defeat does not say that good will lose. It says that good is not measured by outcome. It is measured by resistance, by choosing mercy when cruelty would be easier, by choosing humility when power is available, by choosing to let go when holding on would corrupt. That is why Gollum matters. That is why Bilbo's pity matters. That is why Frodo's failure still leads to victory. Mercy introduces variables Morgoth never accounted for. He understood force. He did not understand restraint. This is the final irony. Morgoth poured himself into the world to control it forever, and in doing so, ensured that no control could ever last. The Age of Men begins not as a triumph, but as an aftermath, and we are living in it now. In Tolkien's framing, our world is Middle-earth after the songs have faded, after the last ships sailed, after myth stepped back and history took over. This is not escapism, it is reflection. This is the Arda Codex, and the long defeat continues, not because hope is gone, but because hope no longer expects to win.